Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over Catalog Flashback Day number 3 for the Labor Day sale in 2016 on Roblox. So yeah, started. So this is continuing my coverage of the Labor Day sale that happened in 2016 on Roblox, with each part of this series being one day in the sale. So I already went over the first 2 days, so I would recommend going through those first. But just in case you don't know what the Catalog Flashback series is, it's pretty much a series where I go over a past update or event that happened on the catalog just for nostalgia's sake, because it's fun to look back at some of the things that Roblox has done in the past right over here. But starting off over here on the Sunday of the sale, day 3, we did have some of the things from the past 2 days go off sale right over here, and also sell out right over here, including a lot of the limiteds that released. So most of those early updates are just the things that happened in the past 2 days, either going off sale or selling out. Next up, we did get a new item, the Gold Like a Star, for 15,000 Robux on a timer of 1 day. We did see the Gold Like a Troll Gold Limited earlier in the sale, so that's already 2 Gold Like items for 1 sale, so that's pretty crazy. We did also get the big head item right over here, this big Shaggy, for 500 Robux for 6 hours, which is pretty cool looking addition to the big head item. We did also get the big item of the sale, the Sky Blue Sparkle Time Fedora for 100,000 Robux with 100 copies available. So over here, Gold Like a Star, once again, is similar to the Troll, ended up going limited at a future date. Wasn't as rare as the Troll, has about 10 more owners than that one, but it actually seems to be pretty rare. It has literally only 1 seller, hasn't sold in forever, so very rare item once again. Pretty cool looking addition to the series, so if you were able to get this one when it was available originally, you were definitely able to profit, as the wrap is way over the original price now, so not too bad. Next up, Big Shaggy. This is one of the few big head items to have not returned as limited yet, so it's definitely up there as a high possibility if they do end up going back to limiteds, which I'm not sure how likely that is at this point, but it's still pretty cool new item. It's addition to the big head series, which there are quite a few versions of these kind of bigger regular items for that big head, so it might look a bit weird without the big head on, but it's still a nice item. It's a nice looking addition to the Shaggy series as well, so not so bad. And then here we have the big item of the sale, of course, Sky Blue Sparkle Time Fedora. Was originally 100,000 Robux, now it's of course worth millions, as usually these fedoras skyrocket over the years, so definitely not too bad. Has quite a few active people that are still willing to trade and sell it, so if you are a fan of this one, you probably have to get a lot of money to get it still, but it's a nice addition to the Sparkle Time series and definitely a highlight of the sale for many users. Next up, we did get quite a few more limiteds. We did also get another huge item with the super happy face that released for 100 Robux on a timer of a day with 50,000 copies available right over there. And we also got a limited right before that as well with the snake pack that was 250 Robux with a 2-day timer. This one had 100,000 copies, which obviously did not sell out in time, but if it did, it would have had 100,000 owners, which is pretty crazy. And then right after that, we got another huge limited with the Immortal Sword Skull Slayer. So they were just throwing out all these huge limiteds all in a row today, so this was definitely a huge day for a lot of traders, getting the opportunity to get a lot of these rare expensive items here. So this Immortal Sword, following the trend of the past Immortals, 25,000 Robux with 100 copies available. So first off, Snake Pack, this one had 100,000 copies available, sold only 3,000 times, so obviously not a great look at the start, and obviously hasn't done that well either. Sells for around 1,000, even sometimes below that as well, so struggling to sell for much. Unfortunately hasn't done well since its release, but still a nice item, definitely not so bad if you are interested in it. It is still relatively cheap, so might as well get it now before it does possibly get more expensive in a few years. Next up, super happy face, probably the most iconic item for a lot of people nowadays. I think it's the most favorited item from Roblox, so very popular. I don't think most people actually know that it released during this sale, so it's pretty cool that they actually released this here. Obviously did very well. It actually didn't end up selling out all of its copies. It had 20,000 copies left before the timer ended, so I don't think people expected it to do as well as it did now, but obviously it's a fan favorite item. It sells multiple times a day, very expensive from its original price of only 100 Robux, so a huge profit for many people, and it's definitely something that will just continue to rise over time due to how it looks and its popularity. And then the Immortal Sword right over here, once again did pretty well like a lot of the other Immortal Swords. These Immortal Swords don't usually go up that high, usually maybe around the 100,000 range, or a couple 100,000s is the highest they would go. Still not too bad, it's a nice addition to that series, did pretty well, profited from the original price, and seems to still have some active people willing to trade and sell it, so not too bad, a nice addition to that series over here. Next up right over here, we did get another big head item. We did get the big arrow hat right over here, which did go back on sale here for 670 Robux over there, so not too bad. We did get also the fiery horns of the Netherworld going limited, so once again another very fan favorite item here, getting an update going limited, so this was a huge day. If this happened today, people would be going crazy with all these fan favorite items really releasing one by one by one. Definitely one of the craziest days from sales that Roblox has done in the past, so we did see that fiery horn go limited here as well as the release of this item, the Modal's Hat of Illumination, which was on sale for 10,000 Robux for only 20 minutes, so very short amount of time. So over here, Big Arrow Hat, also one of the few big head items that have not returned as a limited. It's a pretty cool item. I think it's actually one of the rarer ones from this big head series, so not too bad. It looks well with the big head item. Doesn't have that many owners, so it would likely do very well as limited, so not too bad. Pretty nice addition to that series. Next up, Fiery Horns of the Underworld, obviously a very popular item, selling for over $1 million. They actually were limited during this sale, so it was definitely a pretty good choice, as they obviously had done very well for Roblox, probably making them a ton of money, so not too bad. A very recognizable item for many users, and a very popular item that many people would like to get one day. Next up, the Modal's Hat of Illumination has not returned as limited yet, but if it did, it would likely do very well. It doesn't have that many owners. It was pretty expensive at first, which probably did hold a lot of people back from actually buying it, but it's not too bad. It is this kind of money paper hat, so not a bad item to have released, and one that would do well as a limited. Next up, right over here, we did see the War Clock Shades return for 10,000 Robux. That's the price they usually return during these sales, so that was pretty good. They returned for only 2 hours, which is a pretty short time, but they did return during this sale here. We did also get the Sparkle Time Chicken going limited right over here as well, which is a pretty silly item right over there. We did also get a new item, the Magic Beach Towel. That was limited time only. 725 Robux went off sale later that day. We did also get these 8-bit sunglasses that also had a limited time only timer right over there that went back on sale for 150 Robux before going off sale later that day. So over here, War Clock Shades, obviously a very recognizable item, one that many people would like to get as limited. It hasn't returned as limited though. Maybe eventually if they return to limiteds it will join that status, but it's off sale at the moment. One that returned quite often during these sales. It was a very popular item, so if you're able to get it for 10,000, it was definitely a pretty nice item. Next up, Sparkle Time Chicken when limited here. It's a pretty nice item. Obviously it's pretty silly. I think it's a bit more questionable now to buy it, with there being a cheaper version that they released as a limited test for EGC, but still a nice item nonetheless. So if you're able to get it, it didn't have that many owners and it seems to have been doing pretty well as of recent, so not a bad item to have when limited here. Next up, Magic Beach Towel, another one that's similar to the surfboard we covered on day 2 of the sale. Just a random kind of beach limited time item, so seems like that's the trend with this kind of sale. They have these kind of summer items that just have a timer with them, then they just go off sale, and this one followed that trend. This one I think is a bit rarer than the surfboard, so it'd probably do a bit better if you're limited, but it is kind of just a random item. It's literally just a towel, so not sure how well it will do demand-wise, but it will definitely profit if you bought it originally. Next up, 8-bit sunglasses. This is a pretty notable item as it is used with a popular developer. I think Nicholas from Murder Mystery 2 wears this one, so a pretty popular item there. Definitely doesn't look too bad either. There's quite a few different retextures that they have released following this, so not too bad. Would do well as limited, but it's pretty unlikely at this moment to go limited. Next up, we did get a Shaggy right over here, the orange Shaggy to be specific, going limited right over here. We'd also have Blowfish going off sale during the sale right over here, as well as the Blaster Droid right over here going off sale in 12 hours, and also the Cat Shades right over here also going off sale in a couple hours from this wave as well. So over here, Orange Shaggy, when limited at this point, it seems to have almost no owners anymore because it's selling for this crazy price. It was a pretty rare one, I think one of the rarest from the series. Actually sells for around 20,000 pretty commonly, so if you're able to get it, you're definitely able to make a profit. A pretty nice addition to the Shaggy series. We saw the big hit version a bit earlier, so it seems like these were definitely pretty common around this time. So not a bad item to have gotten originally, and it's one that's doing pretty well as of right now. Next up, Blowfish, kind of a random underrated off-sale item. It's a pretty silly, cute item right over here, representative of the regular fish that exists in real life, so not a bad Roblox replica of that animal. So if you're able to get it, it's a pretty nice item here. Next up, Blaster Droid. This one kind of looks very random, to be honest, kind of looks like a Pokemon. It's also pretty underrated. I don't think many people actually know this actually exists, so would probably do well as limited. Doesn't have that many owners, but it would probably struggle demand-wise, as it doesn't really have a lot going for it in terms of appearance, unfortunately. Next up, Cat Shades, probably one of the most underrated from the sale. Has almost no favorites, but it's a pretty cool looking pair of shades. Definitely gives off supervillain vibes over here. Also has pretty low owner count, so one that I think would actually do pretty decent as limited, and I think one that would probably have a bit more people liking it if it gets exposed a bit more in the modern day. So not too bad, and pretty nice items have gone off sale from this sale. Next up, we did get quite a few other things here. We did get the yellow sombrero going limited. We did also get speakerphones going off sale as well, and in addition to all these other off sale things here, we did also get this Braided Destiny of Bombastic Brilliance going off sale here as well, which there are quite a few versions of this Braided Destiny Destiny item. There's also a blue steel version too, so a lot of these kind of popular textures were used on this item. We did also have Hot Head going off sale as well after a few hours for only 72 Robux. So over here, Yellow Sombrero. This is actually a pretty interesting item. It is this kind of sombrero, but it just has yellow on the front, which I think Roblox just kind of loves putting yellow on a bunch of random stuff at this time, so not too bad. It doesn't sell that often. It sells for quite a lot though, doesn't have that many owners, so it's one that could do well, and one that has almost no sellers either. So not too bad, definitely pretty nice for the Cinco de Mayo holiday, but there's not too much uniqueness to make it stand out from a lot of the other items. Next up, Braid Destiny. This one went off sale here. It was on a timer. Pretty cool, definitely works with a lot of the bombastic specific items, so not too bad there. Hasn't returned as limited, but I would assume it do pretty well. Most of these bombastic items do pretty well too, so a pretty nice addition to the Braided Destiny little mini series as well as the bombastic collection of items. Next up, Hot Head. It is pretty much a volcano on your head. Pretty silly item here. We have a lot of these kind of random looking items for this sale here, but I think these unique ones that a lot of people actually don't know about are actually a lot of the hidden gems from the sales, so I would like to see a return as limited. It might not do well demand wise, but I think it's a pretty nice looking item, and I think it was a nice item to have a timer added to it, as it is a pretty uncommon item to find nowadays. Next up, we did get quite a few more updates here. It seems like they just kind of ran through the entire catalog, updating things, making things limited, taking things off sale. So over here we had Cyclops Droid getting a 90% discount and then going off sale, similar to the butterflies that we talked about on day 2, where they had a discount and then they just went off sale. So over here we did also get a new big head item, similar to the Shaggy, released for 1,000 Robux, and then went off sale after this. So pretty expensive, but a lot of these big head items ended up being pretty expensive overall. We did also have the speaker phones going off sale as well. They were 500 Robux here with a pretty short timer. We did get a new gear here with the Redcliffe Elite Sword for a 3-day timer for 250 Robux, so a pretty nice addition to the Redcliffe series there. And the last item of today, we did get a Violet Flower Hood, which is actually still on sale to date for purchase as well. So over here, Cyclops Story, this one was discounted by 90%, so it was a huge discount. Went off sale right after this, kind of similar to the other robot we talked about. Kind of underrated, not many people know it exists, would likely struggle demand-wise if it returned, but a pretty unique robot head here if you were able to get it while it was available. Next up we have the big beard, so pretty crazy looking here if you don't have the big head. Once again, not unlimited, but would likely do very well, as a lot of the ones from this sale specifically end up being pretty rare, so not a bad addition to the big head series. You definitely had quite a few options if you're around during the sale time to have for your big head. Next up, the speaker phones right over here, actually a pretty cool looking pair of headphones that did end up going off sale right over here with only around 300 owners, so a pretty rare pair of headphones. Would likely do well as limited, but kind of unlikely to happen at this moment, but not too bad if you were able to get it during the time it was available. And then the Redcliffe Elite Sword, also pretty cool looking item, has a little helmet right over here as the handle, so not too bad. Got a decent amount of sales over its period on sale, so not too bad. A nice addition to the Redcliffe series as well, which has a few items there, so a pretty nice timed item to have released from the sale. And the last item right over here, Violet Flower Hood, one that is still on sale, I think for a bit expensive, so it might cost you a couple hundred, but definitely not too bad for the springtime especially, so a nice new item to have been released right over here if you are a fan of it. And then the rest of the day here is just everything getting updated and going off sale, as well as selling out right over there. So honestly, this is probably one of the craziest days I think in Roblox history in terms of the catalog. The amount of items that were released here that went off sale, when limited, it was a huge day for a lot of traders, a lot of avid catalog people, so probably one of the craziest days to have been online if you were a fan of sales. So overall, I think this was a very successful day here. A lot of cheap items available for everybody, some expensive things available for experienced traders, and just something to collect if you're a fan of some of these other random items here. So a pretty successful day overall, and one that I think really stood out as a pretty great day here. But yeah, that was day 3. Definitely a lot of things happened here, and I will go over the last day, the Monday, which is actually the Labor Day, in part 4 of this series, which will release in a few days. So stick around for that, as that will finish out this entire sale coverage. But yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.